SEC Network's Paul Feinbaum joining us now with much more on this story. Paul, we're now more than a decade removed from the Pete Carroll era, which was dominant. USC has not been able to return to national prominence. Why has this program struggled for so long now?
They've had a couple of coaches who simply weren't prepared for the moment. Lane Kiffin, who's a phenomenal coach right now, was immature. He could not deal with the pressure of that job. And I think I could say the exact same thing about Steve Sarkisian. His failings were more of a personal nature, his inability to deal with certain issues such as substance abuse. But now he is a very successful coach, or at least some think he is, at the University of Texas. He was a great coordinator for Nick Saban. And Clay Helton never should have gotten the job. He was an interim coach who was moved up, and he should have probably been gone a couple of years ago, but the university kept putting off the inevitable, and they finally made that call yesterday.
We talked to Greg McElroy last hour about who USC should go after to replace Helton. Who makes the most sense to you right now?
I think it's James Franklin. And Kevin, I thought his non-denial denial was one of the most interesting I have heard in a long time. All you have to do is come out and say, I don't want the job. I've got a great job at Penn State. I mean, he came up with something that was classic. And I think the reason why he is good is that he is good. He is very adept at dealing with the media. He's got a very good record. What he did at Vanderbilt is historic, taking them to bowl games and beating big teams. And he's done a very good job at Penn State, keeping Penn State relevant. And that's what you said a couple of minutes ago. USC is just not relevant, and that's inexcusable. USC, Kevin, is one of the 3 or 4 biggest brands in the history of college football. And for that program not to be part of the conversation every year for the playoff is unconscionable.
You and I know Clay Helton is a nice guy, and he endured a lot of things that he had to clean up with the mess of that program here. I come back to one thing when it comes to recruiting. Why is USC so relevant to the state of college football overall to be relevant right now?
Well, what's happening is the great players are leaving that state. I mean, look at Alabama. Bryce Young, who's an early Heisman candidate, he bailed out. He didn't want to stay home. Matt Corral, who's probably number 2 for Ole Miss in the Heisman balloting, he left Southern California. And other players are leaving their recruiting footprint, and that just can't happen. And I think the right coach, and I think whether it's Mario Cristobal or Franklin or someone else, I think can stop the bleeding and make young players from that area want to do what players did 10, 15, 20, and 40 and 50 years ago, stay home and go to Southern Cal.
You mentioned Mario Cristobal. I think of Kayvon Thibodeau in that Southern Cal region going to Oregon. And then DJ Uiagalelei, and then C.J. Stroud. That's why they're not mentioned in the same conversations as Clemson, Alabama, and even Oregon right now. Paul, you're the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.